All right, we should be good to go here. Um, let's see here. So as you see, it's December 3rd. We've had some questions submitted, so we're gonna go ahead and let me show you the roadmap we're going here. Like I said, buckle up. We've got some stuff to do. I know it's a busy season for you guys. Hopefully you're feeling a little bit of relief after the December 1st deadline. Um, Hopefully you were able to eat your feelings on Thanksgiving about it and get through it that way. It's probably not what your doctor would recommend, but we know sometimes you got to do what you got to do. So, we're going to cover a couple things today. We have the oath of office. We're going to go over some of the open meetings, open records training. We're still getting a lot of questions about that. So, we want to give an update there. And then we'll cover the financial reports that hopefully have already been submitted. Otherwise, you are probably going to be set up to eat some more of your feelings. So, it's a good thing that the holiday calories don't count. And then we have some submitted questions that you submitted when you registered. If you have other questions that have come up since then or that are prompted from our discussion, you can either drop those in the chat or the Q&A. And let me make sure actually that I have it so that you guys can all message everybody and be friends. Right. Okay, perfect. That should be set now. All right, so we'll go ahead and start here with our oath of office goodness. We've had some questions on this. The oath of office can be completed anytime after the election results are certified. So you don't have to wait until a council meeting to do it. You don't need to wait until the new year. We actually recommend that you don't do that. Um, the deadline, the final deadline to stay on the right side of the law there is going to be January 2nd at noon. So, like we had mentioned, you can do it anytime, you can do it anywhere. It doesn't need to be during a city council meeting. You just need to have a witness and somebody to administer the oath. So that language for the oath of office is standard across the board. The state actually prescribes that. So you don't have to worry about coming up with anything fancy or what people are going to think of the script you wrote. You can tell them it's the state's fault. And for my visual learners out here, my comms team requested that I include a educational video. So I'm going to take 2 minutes of your time to play that. It's a good thing you can't see Mickey because he's probably about to be blushing here. But sorry about the YouTube here doing me dirty. I ran for office and I won. Do I get the trophy?
Well, first of all, congratulations.
Yeah.
Quite literally ran for office. Good
Yeah.
for you.
Yeah, let's do this.
Right. So after election results have been certified, you can take the oath of office at any time, but the deadline is January 2nd at noon.
What's the oath of?
Well, this is required of all elected officials, whether they were re-elected to office or newly elected to office.
There's all sorts of stuff.
Which is, right,
I have over here. I assume I'll put down the
Okay. Then I can.
Then you get your trophy, and you can take your seat.
Okay, I can do that.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Management, taxable valuations are supposed to be submitted by January 1.
And I think it was at that point that Mickey realized that he probably shouldn't say that he was up for whatever ideas I came up with. So it was a learning moment for everyone there for sure. But yep, that is just hopefully something to be a little bit more fun, a little less dry. I know the oath of office isn't probably the most exciting thing that you will talk about today, but it is important. So another important distinction there is that you need to administer the oath of office to all elected officials, those who have been reelected, as well as those who are newly elected. So that can be a little different nuance, especially you probably have the open meeting, open records training on the brain, which does apply only to those newly elected. So we want to make a point of the oath of office needs to be administered to everyone who has been elected, whether it's for the fourth time or the first time. So keep that in mind along with the important deadline there of, again, January 2nd at noon. You'll probably get sick of me saying it, but it's important. So we're trying to get it to stick in everybody's brain there. And then everyone's favorite hot topic recently seems to have been the open meetings, open records training. And we certainly understand why. It's obviously a big requirement and a task to manage. So we wanted to just provide a quick update. We have seen some conflicting information shared, but IPIB's official guidance and the guidance that's within the law has been written in that they have 90 days to complete that training. And that 90-day shot clock starts from either when they take their oath of office, if they're an elected official, or if they are appointed from when they are appointed to the board and begin their duties as a part of that. So your 90 days doesn't start at the election, so hopefully that helps you take a deep breath. The official shot clock there is when they take their oath of office. So there is a little bit more of a cushion there timeline wise, which hopefully makes you feel a little bit better. So keep that in mind. They have the 90 days, and they also do not have to be sworn in before they take the training. So if your city typically swears people in at the last meeting in December and it happens to be December 22nd or something, they are able to take that training beforehand. The next training that the league has that we'll be hosting as a webinar is December 16th. That's going to be from 1 to 3:30. So you can put that on their radar if that is something that would work for them. But we also want to remind everyone that luckily the league is not the only one doing the training. IPIB is the one who is required by law to have that training and have it be free. We have been able to partner with them to get the training to our members and hopefully help to get as many of you as possible and make it simple and work with people that, we have relationships with, which is exciting. It's a good way too for us to meet the new people who are coming on board. But if timeframes don't align or we understand that schedules look very different for everyone, there are several trainers who have been approved. IPIB obviously is one. They will have their training dates on their website, as well as having the dates, or I'm sorry, the contact information for other organizations that have been approved to provide the training as well. So you're not necessarily out of luck if you can't get the time that we have available. There are other options. So hopefully that also provides peace of mind that you have some backups, other things to turn to. So keep that in mind. If time is a factor or something that you're really concerned about, there are additional resources and additional people who can get you that training, and it will be just as valid. Anybody who IPIB has approved has the authority to do the training and get you the certificate that will count towards their certification and be valid. So we're excited about that. We're excited to see that starting to move along. Hopefully your elected officials have been able to take advantage of that as well. We want to always drop the reminder to our city staff members that registering the council member or the appointed official is not what gets them their certificate of completion. They have to stay on through the training for our webinars until the end of the training when we put a QR code on the screen as well as a link in chat for them to go fill out their completion form to generate their certificate. So we've seen some confusion, some questions about that. So we want to really highlight that you have to fill out that form at the end. If you know that you have council members or appointed officials that are going to be taking this training and might need some help with the technology aspect, we really encourage you to walk them through that before. Once it starts, we usually have upwards of 250 people who are participating in these. And so we just don't have the capability to troubleshoot, as well as we're not sure what screen they're looking at, things like that. So if you can help them get prepared and set up for that, that would be fantastic. because that helps it move smoothly, helps avoid frustration on everybody's end. And we really want it to be as easy and as accessible to everyone as possible. But technology has limits, unfortunately. And so we're trying to work within those to reach as many people as we can. And on that note, we have had different communities reach out to see if we are able to do in-person trainings. And at this point, we just don't have staff capacity for it. It's definitely something that we're considering for the future, but trying to get as many people as possible. Doing these webinars is the most effective way to reach the largest group of people and help as many people as we possibly can. So that is what our reasoning is right now for the way that that's set up. If you have newly elected or appointed officials or different members of your community boards that you would like to attend the training in person, we have embedded the training in part 1 of the Municipal Leadership Academy, MLA. That starts this week and has in-person dates across the state. The cost for that is $80, right? MLA. Yep. Yep. For part 1. Yep. So that particular training offers 3 different sections. We'll cover the open meeting, open records, go through some municipal operations, and then also budgeting to help give them kind of a government 101 understanding and foundation of what's going on behind the scenes so that they can understand hopefully better what all you do and everything that goes into being effective elected officials. So we do have that available if you have someone that you think just absolutely needs to be in person. Check the league website. We have those dates and locations on there. And in addition, we've had multiple communities reach out and ask if they can host having the Zoom at City Hall or in somebody's office and have all their council members or their appointed officials be there and all watch together to help with some of the technology side of things. That is absolutely okay. And it's worked really well for a lot of communities. So keep that in your back pocket too as an option that you can have everybody in one room, have everybody in council chambers, have it all up on a laptop screen, whatever works best for your community. And then at the end of that training, again, we have the QR code that needs to be scanned and filled out in order to get your golden ticket of completion. There's also a link to that form that we will drop in the chat in the Zoom. So it's important. We would appreciate if you can help us help them by knowing that that has to be filled out at the time that the training is completed, because the current requirements require a live training to be available. So in order to have it be considered live, we need them to fill out that form at the end. Otherwise, we aren't able to issue them a certificate, unfortunately. So that is kind of hopefully an overview. Hopefully that answers some of the common questions that we've seen. But if you have additional questions, we do have a lot of resources on the league website, including like a frequently asked questions as a part of our training requirement article that answers a lot of things that we have seen come through question-wise and hopefully provides some clarity on what the requirements are. We know there's been a lot of chatter, and so we want to make sure that we're providing a resource for kind of those quick questions to have the information available quickly. We also have the open meetings, open records desk reference that is on the website. That's a shortened version of the open meetings report. And that is just a front page that covers the very basics. We know a lot of communities have those even around their council tables, just as a reminder and a constant refresher and reference of, okay, what are we working with here? So I just wanted to point those out, that those are available as well. And then, like I had briefly mentioned before with the financial reports, those were due on December 1st. So hopefully you have those done. If not, you should immediately contact Ted Nelson at the Department of Management. and see what your options are there and how that can be worked through. But we also want to just take a moment to say thank you for all of the work that goes into that. We know it's very time consuming and definitely something that maybe a lot of people aren't aware of that happens behind the scenes. And so from our team to yours, we just want to say thank you. We know that that work is important and that it helps your community to be successful and able to move forward. So we see you. We hope that the process went as smoothly as possible. And again, if you have questions or you're unsure about the status, please reach out to Ted. He'll be the individual who can get you the most direct answer and help in the fastest time frame. So it looks like we might have some questions in the chat. So I'm going to take a second here to look and see what we've got. Are there any tips on logging on for the league training? I had a council member who had trouble getting on yesterday. So they should only have to click on the link that we provide. You On my IT department, I shouldn't say that I'm not the expert here, has informed us that you don't have to have a Zoom account to just join if you're not hosting. So they should just be able to click on that link. They don't need to have a camera. They don't need to have a microphone. They just need to be able to watch. I know some people, if you tried logging in well in advance, and we definitely appreciate that, but we don't start the webinar until closer to like 5 to 10 minutes before it begins. And so I know some people had troubles logging on because we hadn't started it yet. So again, that's kind of why we are asking people to maybe walk their elected officials through what that means beforehand. But that tips wise, I guess we would just say like test Zoom on your computer beforehand, or have at least participated in a Zoom call before. I know that can be difficult, but you can generate in Zoom like a practice link for a meeting to maybe send out beforehand. It obviously won't be the one that will link to ours, but just to get them some familiarity. And so the training is for newly elected officials or appointed officials only. The key date for when that timeline starts is July 1st of 2025. So if they were in their current role July 1st and they have continued to be in that role, if they're reelected to the same position, they are not considered new. But if they were to say we have a council member who instead goes to serve on your board of adjustment, once they switch the governmental body that they're a part of, at that point they are considered to be new. So only the newly elected officials are subject to this training. Anyone is welcome to take it. There's no restrictions on who can. The league's training specifically is geared towards our membership communities. So that's who we're focusing on and focusing on getting those certificates to. But the training only applies to newly elected officials. Like I said, anybody can take it, and the certificate that they'll get from that is valid then for any ongoing service or any changes that they might make in the future. So it is helpful, and that is definitely, hopefully that eliminates some of the individuals that you have to round up for training. So that was a good question. Thank you for asking. And then once your oaths are signed, they don't need to be emailed to anyone, but they do need to be kept as a public record there. But you aren't responsible for turning them in to any other entity. And then let me see, I think I have a couple other questions here maybe. All right, looks like they were technical things. So with that, we'll go ahead and head to our next slide here. My computer is lagging. Okay, here we go. We had some submitted questions about items in these areas. So we're just going to go briefly over these and touch on those questions. Hopefully, we are able to answer those. If you have additional questions afterwards, please definitely reach out. We want to help and want to get you some answers. Might help if we go through what we're talking about first, huh? My computer hates me today. Okay, here we go. Sorry about that. So we've had, I know we have some new faces, new members who are joining us in the glamorous role that is city government. So we've had some questions about City Clerk 101. What resources should you be looking at? What's helpful? So I just wanted to highlight some of the things that the league has available. There is a City Clerk Finance Officer Handbook on our website that gives a solid foundation for anyone starting out, covers several different areas of city administration. It's pretty all-encompassing and details references to state codes, best practices. So definitely recommend that as a starting point of if you have a question, there's a pretty good chance that it is answered within that. But if you need further clarification, if you have a question, can't find it, always feel free to reach out. We want to help with those too. We have a lot of resources and articles on topic-specific items under the resource tab on the website. Those are housed in our administration section, but we have in there some city clerk specific articles as well as city council, different legal topics like 28E agreements or elections, council vacancies. So it's pretty all-encompassing. We also have different detailed articles about public notices, public hearing requirements, what needs to be included in the minutes, and the time frame that those need to be published in. For council minutes, it is 15 days after the meeting. And then for public notices, just a reminder that this year the state legislature did adopt a universal 4 and 20 rule for publishing. So no less than 4 days before, no more than 20 for your public notices. Before that, there were some different timeframes, for example, for zoning and different things like that. And now it's all been brought into the universal 4 and 20. So just want to draw your attention to that. And then if you're more of a visual learner and you really just can't get enough of hearing Mickey's voice, it's been a little quiet today, but usually you'll hear him. There is a job duties and responsibilities webinar that is saved on the league website. So definitely a source there too to check out and reference that hopefully gives you some idea of how to perform the job you've stepped into and some of the different expectations and rules that are guiding that. And then it is city election or post-election season. And so you're probably bringing new council members on board or new appointees in the coming year. And we've had some questions about what makes an official or an efficient orientation. And so some best practices we have there are when you're bringing members on to make sure that you're treating all council members the same. We don't want to create a system off the bat, definitely of some council members getting more information than others. It's very important that all information that is shared equally among the council. I'll include your mayor and your boards in that as well for when those are relevant situations so that everybody is operating from the same information. You don't want somebody to find something out for the first time at the council meeting. That typically doesn't go very well. If you have new individuals who are going to be jumping in, it's a good idea to provide them minutes from past meetings. You can give them copies. It doesn't have to be the original by any means. In fact, we would encourage it to not be the original, but let them kind of get a feel of what the city has been doing, what projects are on the roster, what has been discussed, to help them familiarize themselves so they don't get a culture shock when they sit down for their first meeting and are hit with all of these things that they didn't even know existed. So another thing that can be helpful is to organize a tour of your city facilities. Just help them to see where the work to keep the city running is being done. And it also helps council members to meet staff. I don't have to tell you that nobody can be an expert on everything. And it's good to know the staff that they will be relying on for different reports or information gathering to help build those relationships and get that off to a good start. If your community has done any goal setting, whether formal or informal, this doesn't have to be a big fancy document. Maybe it's just these are the things we want to budget for in the coming years. this is a priority. Hopefully, every community has something along those lines of helping them to head forward as a council with a shared vision so that they can keep that in mind and refer back to it when different issues pop up. So if that is something that your community doesn't have, we would really encourage you to do that in some form. It again doesn't have to be pretty. We're talking about like clean up city parks, improve city lighting. It can be as simple as that. So just things to kind of be the baseline of what your council is wanting to accomplish, and making sure that that information is also shared with new council members coming on so that they have an idea of what has shaped decision making in the past. And then records requests have also had some questions about those of best practices. We know the records requests are coming in a lot more frequently than they used to, it seems like, and having more bulk requests than previously. It's important to respond to those as quickly as possible, letting the individual know that you've received their request and are working on it. That contact is important. You do have a deadline of 10 days. So letting them know that it's been received and is being processed is important. You don't want them to show up upset and with questions. So make sure that you're communicating from the start and getting that off to a positive experience. If it's an item where you can pull it quickly, or you have an approximate time frame of when it can be completed, it's a good idea to share that as well, help to set expectations of this is when we'll be able to provide this, and to give them an overview of the process as well so that they can hopefully understand what's going on behind the scenes to get them that information. Some cities do have a records request form that can just have some basic information of what are you looking for, how would you like this information provided to you. You can ask for contact information if they're willing to share that. But even if you have a form, the requesters are under no obligation to fill that out. So that is very important. Anybody is allowed to request anything at any time, but you are not able to legally require them to fill out a form to get that information. A request is a request, whether it comes in verbally, in writing, or any other means. So another thing to keep in mind here, especially for some of these bulk requests, is that you are able to charge reasonable fees after 30 minutes. And so the 30 minutes here is staff time of compiling or finding the records, or if you're having to supervise the examination of those records. This can also include printing costs. So it's important to have a policy, something that you can enforce uniformly for what those fees are going to be, to set those expectations. If it's going to be a large request, well, in all cases, you are allowed to receive that money before you release the records. So it's important too to, as you're communicating with the requester, make sure that that they're aware of what that charge will be, or maybe if it's an estimate, because a lot of times people might reform their request to be smaller, or whatever, maybe less copies once they find out what the cost associated with it is. So anything under 30 minutes, state law says is a freebie. Your reasonable fee there. What some cities do is they go off of the wages of the individual who either is pulling the file, putting that time into the information. But if you are going to go with an hourly rate, you need to remember that it cannot include benefits. So none of the benefits such as retirement, IPERS, any like flex spending accounts, it needs to be just their base hourly wage that is calculated off of. Okay, let me see here. Got a couple more questions. If it was on a different board prior to be elected to council, does not need. So a question here about the new council members. If the council member was on a different board prior to being elected to council, do they need to complete the open meetings training. If they were not in the office that they currently serve in on July 1st of 2025, then yes, they need to do the training. The exemption is only for individuals who are in the same role that they have been continuously since July 1st. So that's kind of the nuance that goes into that. But yes, if they were on a board on July 1st, and then they ran for election, got elected in November. They are now a newly elected official and they would need to do that training. All right, is it free for 30 minutes per department or person? Sometimes we have requests that have to have several departments that have to produce information. So the 30 minutes is, I believe, just a blanket 30 minutes of I'm struggling with my words. Yeah, we're gonna do some research on that to make sure we get you the right answer there,
Fill
Kim.
some air, fill some air.
Yep, let me chat. Let me see. If a request is broken down into mini requests to avoid the 30-minute time frame, and if it's the same person that is requesting, can the time be combined? Yeah, it sounds like you have a person who's working the system a little bit there. Oh,
So
hold on.
this is section 22.3, and it does just say, the lawful custodian shall make every reasonable effort to provide the public record requested at no cost other than copying costs for a record which takes less than 30 minutes to produce. That's it. So the state code is basically saying a broad, uncategorized 30-minute window to produce the records. So I would say any type of effort to provide the record or records requested, it takes longer than 30 minutes, then that state code provision does not apply. Now you're back to like normal, quote unquote, where you can assess your fees regularly once it goes beyond 30 minutes, whether that's staff time, communicating with your attorney, doing the actual work of copying and retrieving, whatever, all of it combined adds up to more than 30 minutes. Now the state code does not apply. You're back to kind of a normal procedure with fulfilling that records request and applying any applicable fees.
Thanks, Mickey. Our code genius here.
The records requester knows that. That's also impressive. First
Yeah.
of all, like there's a 30-minute shot clock.
Yeah, you got a smooth operator there.
So the section's 22.3. This was what was added onto in 2024 by the legislature, where they tried to like minimize the expense for these basic and routine requests, which is fair. That's fine. Some of these standard ones, they're just quick and easy, kind of get last council meeting minutes. And then a lot of times these days, it's not even making physical copies. It's just sending them the PDF or the Word doc, or a copy of that. Don't send them the original. But obviously via email, you're just gonna be making copies and digital copies and sending that off. So that's fine. It's just when someone tries to game the system a little bit by saying, well, I just want one record at a time. But again, if you total it all up with a requester, then it's like, okay, this is gonna take longer than 30 minutes total to do all of these different records you're requesting separately. We're gonna have to charge you at that point. Now, again, some requesters out there love to play these games. And in theory, if they came in to City Hall or sent you an email or a phone call, one record at a time each day, I mean, you're just gonna play that game with them. I'm pretty sure IPID, that's the guidance they would provide, and they would probably be compassionate, understand that this is just an annoying thing that you got to do as a governmental entity, but it is a thing you got to do. I would try to work with those people and just say, hey, is there a more efficient way of doing this? But
A less painful way.
less painful, but underlying this entire thing is under chapter 22 is that the records are available for public inspection. So you just always kind of got to, customers, what do you say? Like
the customer's always
first.
right. Yeah.
So it applies here.
Do we have any other questions? about anything we talked about or anything to the table's open. So any burning questions you have, we're here. What about council to mayor for open meeting, open records? Yep, that is considered a new office. It's not?
If they were currently in office July 1, 2025,
Mhm.
same place.
They leave that? Okay.
Yes.
I was wrong, Tracy.
Let me double check real quick while we're talking about it, but I think that was one that IPID did kind of come back and say, nah. If you were in a covered office, such as that situation, you're good.
We're still learning here too. The certificates for newly elected people receive what needs to be done with those. Yep, you did for the the certificates that come from the open meeting, open records training. You just need to have those filed on hand like any other public record. The public is able to come in and request those just like anything else. And so you need to have it on hand, but once you have that form, you don't have to like send it to your county auditor or record it or anything like that. It just needs to be maintained by the city so that if somebody does come in and request it, you have it available. You guys are kind of a quiet group today. Maybe just burned out from all of the reporting you just did this week. Okay.
Okay, well, here's IPIP's guidance on what does it mean to be newly elected or appointed. Just bear with us here. Section 21.12 only applies to members of governmental bodies who are newly elected or appointed after new laws effective date of July 1, 2025. Individuals who held their positions on or before June 30th, 2025 are exempted by virtue of their pre-existing roles, including if they are later re-elected or reappointed to a new term in the same position. However, this exemption does not extend to individuals who were previously members of a governmental body, but were not active in that position at the time the law came into effect, which was July 1, 2025. Those who are initially exempt but leave their position and later return after a period of inactivity, or those who are exempt based on a legacy position with one governmental body who are later elected or appointed to a new governmental body. So that's why Grace's guidance previously on someone kind of switching roles does not get covered, but someone who was in a role on July 1, 2025 is good to go. So there's going to be some weird ones, but I think IPIP has basically said it's like if you're one, like mayor and council are considered one governmental body, city council. And so if they go for mayor to council or council to mayor, and they were already in office July 1, 2025, in one of those spots, they're good. But if they switch to like, I don't know, school board, something like that, that's a separate deal, separate body, then that would be considered a new member because they switched to a different governmental body. I hope that makes sense. I get that this is very confusing for everyone. So a lot of people were reelected, reappointed, library board members just get re-upped all the time, go another 2-year term. Well, all of that's fine if they were already in office July 1, 2025. It's when they go to a different governmental body is when, even though they're already in a covered office, so to speak, but they go to a different body, that's when they're no longer considered new under IPIP's ruling. Again, hopefully that makes sense.
Yeah. A little mental gymnastics. Mickey, do we know if Ted is still sending AFR confirmation emails?
I don't know personally.
I also do not know personally.
Does anybody on the call or email on the Zoom, I should say, have any evidence of this? Could report to the group if they have received an AFR confirmation email from Ted. Hopefully you all did your AFR and can answer
Yeah.
more directly than we can. Anyone? No confirmation. Okay. So it looks like perhaps not, and you may need to contact Ted directly to get confirmation that everything is good to go.
All right, and then we have another question here. So council to mayor doesn't need open meeting, open records, but park board to council does.
Yes, I
Mhm.
think that's the safest way, especially within city government, it's the easier way to look at it,
Yeah.
or more probably common way of things happening. Um, and so, like Ray said, the safest way for everybody is just get the training.
Mhm.
Even if you got a mayor that's been in their seat for 20 years, um, it's probably just safe to do it. But I get that some of your veteran elected officials and board and commission members are not interested in taking a training that they're not required to take. So I totally understand that. We
Mhm.
both do. But any of these squishy ones, I would just have them do it. So, and someone, again, like a 20-year mayor, clearly they're exempt, given IPIP ruling here. So that I wouldn't worry about those folks at all. But anyone that's like kind of switched from park board to council or vice versa, here recently in the fall, like, yeah, get them to get the training.
Get them in there.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna throw up our contact information. I'm sure that most of you have it. You got an email from me to join the class, so you at least have mine. But if you have any questions or anything ever pops up, our inboxes are always open. Um, we're happy to help. Please reach out to us. We want everybody to succeed, and nobody is on an island here. So please let us know if you have questions. I know that a lot of you have access to ClerkNet through IMFOA. That's another great place to ask questions for other people who have firsthand boots on the ground experience. So as always, we really encourage everyone to lean on their resources, their friends and community. You guys are the ones who know best what all you're going through and what the expectations are. So just want to encourage that. The resource for ClerkNet, that goes through IMFOA, the Iowa Municipal Finance Officers Association. So that is a separate entity, but they provide a lot of education and support for city clerks, city administrators across the state. And to be a member of their organization, I believe the dues are $50 a year if you're a benefited member, and benefited members get access to ClerkNet to be able to reach out to the group as a whole for questions there. Let me back up a little bit. The agenda does need to be posted on the website if the city has one. Minutes do not, as far as state requirement goes. Um, just want to clarify.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, let's start at the basics. The
Mhm.
agenda has to be under section 21.4 of the Iowa Code, has to be posted at a prominent place. That has been interpreted by IPIP to mean like a physical location, not city website, not social media, not even a city, a newspaper the city works with. It's the physical location of the meeting. So for city government, the classic example, of course, with city council is the city hall. You got a council chambers in city hall, like most cities do. I know some small towns do not, but the city hall slash council chambers, you would post the agenda slash notice there physically. It also needs to be posted in a spot that's visible to the public around the clock. So like an outward facing doorway, window, something of that nature, it will get the job done. That's the bare bones requirement under the state code for the agenda slash notice. Any additional locations you post at, it's definitely a best practice to put the agenda and notice up at other places, the city library. I've heard of cities doing it at the co-op, the post office, other kind of public places around town, just to help get word out. Of course, then city website, social media, all of those are good ideas. and definitely best practices, but they're not strictly required by the state code. So that's the agenda and notice. The minutes is where things also get kind of quirky, because the state code does say that city council meeting minutes must be published in a newspaper within 15 days of the meeting. That's been clarified in recent years to say that the city must send the minutes to the newspaper within 15 days. Then the newspaper can take their time, according to their publishing schedules, to publish the minutes in an edition of their newspaper. But your job as a city is to get them to the newspaper within 15 days. Now, another quirk is that cities less than 200 population are not required to publish their minutes or other notices in a newspaper. They can post them at 3 public places around town. But again, that has to be done within 15 days of a council meeting. That's just for your city council meeting minutes. Your other like boards and commissions, your library board, your park board, your planning and zoning commission, they also as governmental bodies have to take minutes, but those do not have to be published or posted like you do with your council meeting minutes. You have to take them, you have to preserve them, you have to save them. It's up to you if you want to publish them or post them around town. But most cities do not. They just have the P and Z minutes, the library board minutes on a city website, or they just keep them at City Hall for public inspection. So there's a little bit of difference there when it comes to your board and commissions minutes. Hopefully it all made sense. Again, these are very quirky things in the state code.
Yes.
Some weird differences out there.
Off the top of my head, is the property tax hearing notice and budget adoption notice required on the city social media websites? I thought it was.
So the proposed property
Yeah.
tax rate notice, yes, it does have to go on any city social media. And that has also been clarified in recent years to mean that any city social media. So if you have an account for the city government as a general account, that's an obvious one. But also if like the police department has its own social media account, the library has its own social media account, it has to go on those as well. Then it has to go to the city website and it has to stay in the city website in perpetuity. That's gotten a little bit kind of murky here. Ted has had some softer, I guess, guidance on that, but the safest thing is just put it on some kind of page on your website, leave it up there forever, preserve it, you're good to go. So that is the specific additional requirement just for the public or for the proposed property tax rate notice. That you have to do that additional stuff with the website and social media. That does not pertain to the public hearing notice for the annual budget, the traditional one the cities have had to do forever. Now, does it make sense to also post a public hearing notice for the annual budget on your website and social media? Of course, that's another best practice, but that's a weird one that's not strictly required by the state code like it is for the proposed property tax rate hearing notice.
All right, and just
So that
to,
makes sense.
yeah, just to clarify, social media accounts, the requirement to post the property tax hearing notice is specific to the property tax hearing. A best practice would be to post your agenda there if you have a social media site, just to have that in kind of a consistency there, but the requirement for posting is specific to the property tax hearing. And then we also have a question of the requirements for posting for a job opening. We have the veterans hiring preferences, which is 10 days, right?
Yeah, at
10
least
days?
10 days prior to the job application deadline, you must only post a notice regarding the open position the city is seeking to fill. This is another one that's awkward. The way the state code is set up, and this is section 35C.1. If you really want to get into it, it's the veterans preference laws. But within that, you have to post this notice at least 10 days prior to the job application deadline. That's it. You don't have to publish an ad in the newspaper or to post things on job search websites. Those are definitely best practices, and pretty much every city uses those communication. avenues to get word out when they're trying to seek, trying to fill a position and get a lot of interest in it. But if you have, like, say, an internal candidate and you know everyone knows exactly who the city's going to hire for an open position, you still have to do that 10-day posting. It's just a posting. You just put it up at City Hall. Once those 10 days are up, you're on your own. You can immediately hire somebody on that 11th day if you're ready to go. You don't have to do interviews. You don't have to do anything more than just putting that notice up. But again, most cities, of course, when they go through a search process, they have maybe 30 days worth of, at least 30 days typically, of like trying to attract candidates and accept applications and resumes. And then you go on through the hiring process with scoring applications, getting some finalists, doing interviews, and so on and so forth. But again, state code, 10-day notice, that's it.
And where does that need to be posted, Mickey? I feel like I'm
Yeah,
like a host here.
right.
I need a
exactly,
microphone.
yeah. Well, what did you guys do in Ames? I'm sure there's just like a billboard,
There is a billboard,
like at
yeah,
City Hall, where you put all of the
Yep.
notices.
but it's also on the website and
Yeah.
it's on different, like the NeoGov, Indeed, so, yeah, yep, yep.
But again, the bare bones requirement is a notice at your notice, wherever you post your notices, like for your council meeting. So again, City Hall, somewhere prominent, easily visible to the public. I know a lot of cities have like billboards that use that doorway window to just, council meeting agenda, maybe P and Z agenda, any open positions the city is seeking to fill. There might be 4 or 5 pieces of paper taped to that window
Yeah.
or billboard, tacked to the billboard.
You might need a bigger window.
Yeah, it kind of depends. Larger cities, they might have a bunch of stuff going on at once. And you have to have like a whole wall
That's what we had.
filled up with your different notices. But that's where you post that job notice. These are good questions, folks. Keep them going. Does that post have to be in 3 locations? So no, that bare bones one is the one place, the one physical location. But again, as Grace said, like anything else is good, is definitely best practice. And so that's where obviously the City Hall location, but then all the other stuff we just mentioned.
Yeah.
And then those cities less than 200 population, it's always a little bit unique for you guys, where you don't have to publish these things like public hearing notices and council meeting minutes, but you do have to do the 3 prominent places in town. So that's where it goes into, like, each town can be a little bit different. So you got your City Hall location, but also like the co-op, the post office. I've heard people use Casey's, a bank in town if you got one.
Casey's is the hub of the community there. Come on,
Casey's
come on.
basically serves as City Hall. In some
Yeah,
places.
you want to find something out, you go to
If you wanna know
Casey's.
what's going on, hang out at Casey's for an hour and you'll get all the town news.
Mm-hmm.
And so, we know that's how it works.
Yep,
I
yep.
probably wouldn't use a bar in town, just because bars don't have regular hours.
Yeah.
And most Casey's are they're pretty consistent on what they're open. But whatever works.
Yep, and we do have guidance on the website under that resources administration tab that covers what the requirements for including in the minutes as well as getting those in your agendas posted. So I'd recommend checking that out. There's a lot of information there that you can kind of sort through what's relevant to your specific instance. We have another question here. Hypothetically, social media doesn't need to be utilized for anything other than the property tax hearing. You could just post that 1 year or one item every year.
Yeah, that's the one thing so far
Yeah,
that
cross
the
your
state
fingers.
code specifically says when it comes to social media postings, that city governments must do. It's that proposed property tax rate hearing notice.
Must do if you have a social media.
Exactly.
If you don't have one, you don't need to create one.
Same with the city website. You're not required to, like Grace said, create a Facebook page or create a city website overnight. We know some of our smaller communities just don't have the resources to afford a city website or social media page, not just the cost of the physical cost of that, but also the time.
Yeah, maintaining
these social media and or websites. So that's fair. Now, I did say that the way I said it unintentionally, because there is definitely a push that the league is part of and our members to get online notices to be a place where you can meet your legal obligations to do your public notices. And so as things continue to evolve in our society, it's probably fair to assume that in the years to come, the legislature will allow for that, but then probably put some responsibilities on local governments to maintain websites and or social media accounts. So that's where it kind of, it's a two-way street with online notices and modernizing the way we provide information to the public. That you will then, as a city government, be expected to have some kind of social media presence or website presence as we go into this and continue to evolve with this stuff.
Yeah, and if that change does occur, we'll definitely push it out on ClerkNet, probably League Weekly, and our legislative team every year provides a laws of notice to cities of law changes that are directly relevant to city operations, and so it would also definitely make that report as well. So we'll keep you as informed as we are when/if that happens. But for right now, these are all hypotheticals. So we have the same marching orders that we've had previously. Just putting a little bug in for some things that might be coming down the pipeline. Of course, we never know how things will actually proceed at the state house or individual communities, but just wanted to let you know that that's on our radar and is something that we'll be monitoring to keep you guys in the loop about as well. So if we don't have any other questions, we are about at our time here. We want to respect your time so that if it's your lunch, you can get to that. But like I said, if you have any other questions, our emails are up there, or go ahead and give the league a call and we'd be happy to talk too. So thank you everybody for joining us, and keep submitting your questions for these as we host them. We host them about quarterly, so be on the lookout for another one to come here in a little more of the springish time, hopefully. We'll see how long winter holds on for us here this year. But yeah, thank you guys for joining us. We hope this was valuable. Yes, Merry Christmas to you guys too. Crazy that we're saying that. Yeah, happy December, everyone. Yeah. But yeah, so that's what we have for you today. Thank you guys. Thanks for all you do. And as always, let us know how we can help support you. So we will, I'm sure, hopefully chat soon. And in the meantime, be safe and take care of yourselves.